Hello! We're going to make our scissor holder project. So this is your pattern scissor holder. It's 7.5 inches by 8.5 inches. And you need to choose two fabrics, one for the outside, one for the inside. I'm going to use my thicker one for the outside. This is a corduroy. It's soft, so I'm going to use that on the inside. So, to cut it out, we're going to position our pattern along the straight edge and take your marking utensil. I'm using chalk. You could use a washable marker, you could use a pencil. There are different kinds of things you can use. This will not be visible when it's all finished, so you could use something that doesn't wash out or anything. And then here's our outside. Gonna line it up parallel, this edge parallel to the edge of the fabric. Great. Now we use our scissors, cut the project out. All right, so we have the inside of the scissor holder, the outside of the scissor holder, and our pattern. Everything's cut out, and we're ready to start sewing. I don't have an exact match, but what I do when I don't have an exact match and I can't decide between two, I lay them out on the material. That one's laid out, this string is out. And then I kind of look at them and see which thread kind of disappears into the fabric the best. And to me, I can still see this one. It's really light, but this one I can barely see. So I'm going to choose this thread for my project. All right, let's sew this project together. So I cut some thread, a length of thread off. I'm going to thread my needle. And I like to sew with a double strand, so I'm doubling my thread. Uh-oh, I got a knot. Okay. So I'm going to knot it at the end. I like to knot twice. There we go. All right, so my thread is prepared. Now I'm going to get my fabrics ready. Right side of fabric, wrong side of fabric. So wrong side down, right side up, right side facing right side, wrong side up. I'm going to pin around the edges. I don't need too many pins, but enough to hold the fabrics together while I'm working with it. I'm going to put 2 pins on this side, about 2 inches apart from each other, 2 or 3 inches. Let's go 3 inches. There we go. All right, let's start sewing. So I'm going to start down here, and we are going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you want your needle to go in about a 1/4 inch in from the edge. There we go. And this first stitch, it's going to be held in place by that knot we made. Another way to kind of further secure it is to do a back stitch. A back stitch is when your thread just went forward, but now we're going back to the original stitch and back we're just repeating the same stitch twice. So there's like 2 stitches right there. All right, now we're gonna do a running stitch. Running stitch is just down, up, down, up, down, up. That's a running stitch. When you do a running stitch, you do want to be careful that you don't pull too tight. You don't want it gathered up like that. You want your stitching to be flat. So we're going to go down, up, all staying about 1/4 inch away from the edge. All right, here we are. We got to the corner already. So in the corner, I'm going to do another one of those back stitches. Now that back stitch is going to prevent me in the future from gathering up this line. This line is nice and flat now, and that back stitch acts like a locking stitch to hold the stitching in place. So I have sewn from here around to here with my first thread. Now I've gotten another needle and thread ready. I'm gonna start over here, start at the end, but I'm gonna sew on the darker side so maybe you can see the stitches better. So I am going to start 1/4 inch from the edge. We can check it with our seam gauge. 1/4 inch, and I'm going to do a back stitch to lock this stitch into place. Great. All right, let's go with our running stitch. Smooth it out. I'm gonna go ahead and put my back stitch right there in the corner, turn my project, and keep going. Let's see if I can get this knot out. Okay. Do a back stitch. And I'll finish this up. All right, I'll end with a back stitch too. And I'll tie my knot. Okay. Don't clip too close to your knot or your knot might come out. Leave a little tail, okay? All right, so now we have sewn around the 4 sides, leaving a 3-inch opening at the bottom. Now we're going to take it over to the ironing board and press our seam allowances. All right, let's press our project. first I'm just going to press everything nice and flat. I like to use a lot of seam. And I'm going to turn this in. I'm going to have the outside of my fabric down and the inside fabric, the part that's going to be on the inside of the holder, up. And I'm going to turn this down along the stitching line so the stitches show me where to turn it. Turn there. Give that a good press. And then turn up the bottom. Ooh, my iron is hot. And then we'll do the sides. Hot, hot, hot. All right, we'll let it cool off a minute. All right, let's turn this right side out. So we're gonna find our opening. I like to pinch that with my finger, pinch the corner with my finger, and then flip it out. Flip it out. Go find another corner. Pinch those folds and turn it out. So we got half the side out. Let's go find the other side. Pinch those together, turn it out. And I got one more. And flip it out. Turn the whole thing right side out. And then you might need, you can use your sewing gauge to push out the corners a little bit if you want to. All right, then bring it over to the ironing board and iron all your sides flat. All right, we have our scissor holder, right sides out. We need to sew up this hole that we have. So this is my book, Reader's Digest Complete Side to Sewing. They have some hand stitching. We're going to use this slip stitch to connect them. So let me get my needle and thread again. Needle and thread. And I like to hide my knot. So to hide my knot, what you do is the seam allowance here, I'm going to stick my needle up under my seam allowance, and I'm going to have my needle come up at the end of my opening over here. Okay. All right. So you hold your two edges together, and you're going to tuck in and get a little scoop from the one fold bring it up, and then directly across, you're gonna scoop another bit of fabric up. Then go back directly across. Get some more. Okay, I finished sewing up my hole, so now I'm going to put my knot in. Okay, and I'm going to hide my, instead of cutting my thread and leaving it hanging, I'm gonna just put my needle to the inside of my fabric. Oops, it's jumping out over there. To the inside of my fabric. Pull it out so my thread is hidden. Then I'll cut here. And my rectangle is sewn. All right, now we're gonna fold our scissor holder into the shape that we want it to be. So with the inside of the holder up and the outside of the holder down, short side at the bottom, long side along the side, we're going to fold it like this so that these edges meet up. They should meet as perfectly as possible. And then we're going to iron this side. Okay. Next, we're going to fold it again, with this side meeting this side. And press. Alright, we'll let it cool up. Now we're going to put a 2-inch fold the tip in 2 inches. So this is my 2-inch thing. So I'm going to fold it up like that and press that. Alright, now we're going to unfold everything. So now it's folded open. We're going to fold this, first fold in, and then fold that one up. Mine doesn't quite match up on the side. I would like it to match up on the side better. So I'm going to move it over so it matches up better. This side is still good. I'm going to give it a good press right there. And then let's fold this tip back up. So open up, fold the tip in, and then refold that. There we go. Give that a good press. Okay, so now it's folded into the shape we want it to be. All right, so now here's our scissor holder. What we need to do is secure all the edges. So we need to sew from here down to the bottom, across the bottom, and then up this edge, okay? I'm going to use a whip stitch to sew it together, which is similar to this overcast stitch. Another thing you could do is there's a blanket stitch. That would also be a nice one to use, but my fabric is pretty thick because I used a jean material for this one. So it's pretty thick, so the blanket stitch I think would be pretty hard to get in there, especially down at this end when there are so many layers. So I'm just going to use a simple whip stitch down and across. Also, I'm going to use a little bit thicker thread. I found something that's a little bit thicker. I don't think will break as easily, so I'm going to use that. All right, I'm going to start here. So down to the bottom, across the bottom, and then up to here. And I am going to hide my knot on the inside. Let's see where I need to start it. Over here. There we go. Right there. So my knot will end up to be on the inside. So for whip stitch, you just come up on the back side, go down in the front, across to the back, like that. Pull it through. Try not to get any knots. Pull it tight. And repeat again. So the whip stitch is going to show, it's not invisible. But we'll do our stitches neat and even, and it'll look fine. So our scissor holder is finished. I did a whip stitch around here, along this side, then up this side. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it holds some scissors. I got scissors. Good. I can put a little seam ripper in there. I can stick a little pin. It has 3 pockets. You can stick a lot of things in. And then I have another little pair of scissors I can stick in. There it is. Great. All right, just to show you, I'm going to do that blanket stitch. So I would hide the knot inside one of these folds like that. Hide it in there and then get started. You just go down, straight through, but you pull up the thread in front of your loop. So you got a loop, you space out your stitches a little bit, maybe 1/4 inches apart, and it comes up and catches that loop there. So this is called a blanket stitch. You could use this stitch all the way around instead of the whip stitch to sew the 2 layers or the many layers together around this section if you liked this and your fabric wasn't too thick. All right, that's the blanket stitch.